You're sitting quietly, maybe scrolling on your phone or gently petting your cat, and out of nowhere, they bite you. Not hard enough to cause real harm, but enough to surprise you. 1 second, everything feels calm. The next, your cat turns, grabs your hand with their teeth, and then just as quickly, they let go. Sometimes they walk away. Sometimes they stay, as if nothing unusual just happened. And that contradiction is what makes it so confusing, because it doesn't feel like aggression, but it doesn't feel affectionate either. So what does it actually mean? The first thing to understand is that this behavior is far more common than it seems. And more importantly, it's not random. Cats don't act without reason, especially not in moments like this. Even when their actions feel sudden, they're usually responding to something very specific, something internal, something subtle, something easy to miss if you're only looking at the surface. Because for cats, communication isn't loud or obvious. It's quiet, layered, precise, and biting, in many cases, is part of that language. If you think about when this usually happens, it often appears during moments that seem calm. You're petting them. They're lying next to you, maybe even purring. Everything feels relaxed. And then, almost without warning, they bite. But if you slow that moment down, there are often small signals leading up to it. A slight shift in their body, a pause in their breathing, a subtle tension that builds before the bite ever happens. From their perspective, the bite isn't sudden. It's the final step in a sequence. Because one of the most common reasons cats bite is overstimulation. Unlike dogs, who often seek continuous interaction, cats have a much lower threshold for physical contact. What feels gentle and comforting to you can slowly become overwhelming for them. And instead of pulling away immediately, they often tolerate it for a while, until they don't. You might notice this when you're petting them in the same spot repeatedly. At first, they lean into it. Then their tail starts to move more sharply. Their ears shift slightly. Their body stiffens just a little. And then, the bite, not as an attack, but as a boundary, a very clear, very direct way of saying, that's enough. And when you see it that way, the behavior starts to feel less confusing, because it's not about hurting you. It's about stopping something that no longer feels good. There's also another layer to this. Sometimes, the bite doesn't come from discomfort, but from play. Cats are natural hunters. Even when they're fully domesticated, that instinct doesn't disappear. It stays active, just beneath the surface. And during moments of interaction, especially when hands are involved, that instinct can suddenly switch on. Your fingers move. Your hand shifts slightly. And in your cat's mind, that movement can resemble prey. Small, quick, engaging. So they respond the way they're wired to respond. They grab, they bite, they hold for a moment. Not out of aggression, but out of instinct. And often, right after, they release. Because the hunt is over as quickly as it began. You might even notice their body language stays relaxed afterward. No signs of stress. No signs of tension. Just a brief moment of instinct passing through. But here's something most people don't realize. Cats don't separate affection and instinct the same way we do. For them, closeness, play, and boundaries can all exist in the same interaction. So a cat might be lying next to you because they feel safe. They might purr because they're comfortable, and still bite you a moment later. Not because something changed emotionally, but because something shifted physically or instinctively. And this is where it becomes even more interesting. Because biting can also be a form of communication that exists somewhere between those two worlds. Not purely emotional, not purely instinctive, but something in between. A signal. A small, controlled action that says, pay attention to this moment. Sometimes it's about overstimulation. Sometimes it's about play. And sometimes it's simply about control. Cats value autonomy more than most animals. They like choosing when interactions start and when they end. So when a situation goes slightly beyond their comfort, instead of withdrawing immediately, they might use a gentle bite to regain that control. Not to dominate the interaction, but to shape it, to adjust it back to something that feels right to them. You might notice this when they bite and then stay close. They don't run away. They don't hide. They just shift slightly, as if resetting the moment. And in that reset, they find balance again. Over time, these small interactions become part of your relationship, a kind of silent dialogue. You pet them. They respond. You adjust. They respond again. And within that rhythm, both of you learn something about each other. You learn their limits, their preferences, the small signals that come before the bite. And they learn that you respond to those signals, that you notice, that you understand, because at its core, this behavior isn't about unpredictability. It's about expression, a quiet, instinctive way of communicating comfort, discomfort, engagement, or stimulation, all through a single brief action. And when you begin to see it that way, the bite loses that sense of randomness. It becomes part of a pattern, a moment that fits into a larger language, a language built not on words, but on subtle shifts, tiny reactions, and shared awareness. Because your cat isn't trying to confuse you. They're interacting with you in the only way they know how, through instinct, through sensation, through moments that pass quickly, but carry meaning. And sometimes, those meanings overlap. Comfort and overstimulation, affection and instinct, closeness and boundaries, all existing in the same space. So the next time your cat bites you, and then simply looks at you or walks away or settles back down, you're not just seeing a random behavior. You're seeing a message, a small, precise adjustment in the interaction, a way of saying, this is where I am right now. And in that moment, if you look closely enough, you can begin to understand exactly what they mean. If your cat has ever done this, I'd really like to hear about it. When does it usually happen? During petting, play, or completely out of nowhere? Share your experience in the comments. Every story reveals something new about how they communicate. And I'll see you in the next video.